Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the Suffolk Economic Development Commission to order. It is 6:01 on June 18th. And this is Greg Dial. We'll go around the room to introduce.
Serena Fuller.
Stephen Roach.
And on the phone, we have Mark Folco's on the phone anyway. So we have
Mark Folco.
yes. And we hope that Craig comes in yet, so we hope
Right.
to have a.
Oh, he's up
quorum.
there.
right behind.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So we do have 5 out of our 9. We have other people traveling and different things right now, so we will move forward. And the first thing I would like to do is introduce our new town planner and economic development director, Alvin Allen. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
I'd like
Yes,
to
welcome.
ask you to introduce your background and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm originally from Springfield, Mass. I graduated with a degree in regional planning from the Westfield State University. That was 2005. I've worked with the city of Springfield beginning 2008, 18 years with the city of Springfield, working in the planning department as in I guess my last 6 months was with the DPW division engineering. But majority of the years worked with planning and economic development as a municipal planner.
All right. Do you have any particular philosophy you bring or point of view you bring to economic development in particular?
I don't know if a particular philosophy, but again, I just want to learn the lay of the land and, anything that, my expertise that I can bring from the city of Springfield to Southwick, the other day, just, doing a walk audit was a great sort of, what's the word? Just again, just learning about Southwick and the dynamics of the town center. And, there's a lot, that I have opinions on that, at some point, we'll have a grander discussion.
Okay, and now we have our quorum. Craig Samuelson is entering the room and we're getting an introduction from Alvin Allen on our new town planner, economic development director.
Thank you, Samuelson. Welcome.
All right. And he was mentioning a walking audit. I wanted to meet with Alvin and I said, but rather than sit down, I'd like to do it as a walk through the town center. And we spent a couple hours just walking down one side and then back up the other back here. And it was very productive.
Yes.
I had the sense that Alvin will fit in very well. And I'm encouraged.
Thank you.
Are you commuting from where?
Yeah.
I'm commuting from back and forth to Springfield.
Okay.
From 16 acres area around
Oh,
Western New England.
That's a drive.
It is a little bit of a drive, but it's all
Do you
right.
have a family?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you let us know what sort of projects that you worked on in your time in Springfield? It seems like you had a really long tenure there.
Yes. So I've worked on projects, more planning focused, not so, well, in regards to economic development, I've worked on like our, facade program, for lighting and signage. We did have facade grants in the city of Springfield that we acquired through CDBG funding. So I did assist. I wasn't the manager of that program, but I did assist with the program. I've also managed or as a facilitator for the Valley Bike Program in the city of Springfield. I also administered historic funding for historic homes in the city of Springfield, particularly in the McKnight neighborhood, Victorian homes. I received money from the community preservation funding to adhere to or to put towards historic facades.
Okay.
been involved in grant writing
Yes,
and,
I was involved in grant writing, even more so on the DPW side with, Complete Streets, Chapter 90, and just for roadway projects, for pedestrian friendliness and bike safety. That's sort of my background. Yeah.
and you know the people in the Western Mass Economic Development Group and
Yes.
as well Pioneer Valley.
Pioneer Valley Planning
Planning.
Commission, the commissions there.
That's great.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Any other questions for Alvin?
Any experience with sewer grant money?
No. Dived into that,
That's a dead issue in this town.
Okay, well, you're welcome to stay the whole meeting or leave at whatever point you want. Entirely up to you. We appreciate you dropping in and introducing yourself and
Yeah, no problem.
you're welcome to join in any of our topics of discussion as well.
Okay.
We also have another guest, Norm Cheever from the MPIC Master Plan Implementation Committee, and he would like to talk with us about the scoring system,
Yes.
tracking system.
Greg, before he does, I'm not real clear on his total involvement with the town right now. What the arrangement is. Can you go over that or he go over that?
Well, I'll just say, prior to this, we had a part-time town planner in John Goddard. I think it was like 16, 17 hours a week.
Okay.
Now we have a full-time planner plus economic development. Do you have anything to add to the description of your?
I mean, it's pretty spot on. So I am a full-time town planner and, economic development director. So, whatever, I can provide to this group and, and bring back to Nicole and her staff, I'm here for the conduit for that.
So Nicole reports to.
The select board, Nicole?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Nicole Parker, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right.
She replaced Carl Steinhardt, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
And you will be in all of the planning meetings and
Yes.
the planning board and
So, yeah, I will be facilitating all planning board meetings.
facilitating them.
I'm just wondering, I mean, is it, will you be attending all or most of our meetings or
Yeah, I'm here.
probably? Okay, all right,
Yeah, you're welcome. Any of them you can make it to you.
good.
We're so glad to hear that they went ahead with this because we struggle to have enough time to do a lot of the bigger projects.
Mm.
And we focus, and we'll get into this in a minute. We've got a very focused approach where we had that we'll go through later 10 goals to accomplish by the end of the fiscal year, which is this month. We'll go over the ones we accomplished and then we'll start another 10 goals or so.
Okay.
And we like to focus on those short-term goals in the service of some longer-term strategies, which are defined in the master plan. And we have prioritized those for MPIC. And we are trying to coordinate with those and then a lot of our goals for next year will be tied in specifically to those master plan goals.
Well, I think it's good that we have somebody that, we have direct access to what's going
Definitely.
on. I think that'll be helpful. I mean, Julie is sort of our little, into, the way that some of the workings are, but it's nice to have somebody where we have direct access to planning and, can really keep our finger on the pulse. I think that's good. Otherwise, we used to sit on
Right.
our own little island and that was not.
Right, and we are on our own island.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to be in more closely aligned to the planning board in particular as an advice giver. We don't have any direct power to make things happen, but we do have power of persuasion and advice. And try to make that fact-based wherever we can. Any other questions on this topic? If not, we will proceed with Norma's plan. Do you want me to put up your
Put that up.
document?
Well, maybe you can hand the mouse over to me and
Yeah.
I don't wanna have to ask you to flip pages. Let's move this. Joe.
It's on my,
Okay.
there it comes.
There it
Just this little saw.
Okay. We put together actually now several months ago, the proposal for a draft. Master plan scorecard. And presented it to the master plan implementation committee. They have modified it appropriately. And they asked me to, before we vote on it, that it's the final product. They asked me to test the waters with 3 different committees to get feedback on what they think of it. So I've done lake management last week. I did Conservation Commission Monday night, and now I'm doing economic development today. So appreciate your feedback at the end of the presentation. We have decided that we're gonna go along the town fiscal calendar. So year 1 will begin 7/1/25. Okay. This is the way the process is proposed to work. And each lead organization has 2 opportunities to select their goal setting. They could say, we've got so many items to complete. We'll complete it in X amount of years, and we'll just do the division there and say that's how many each year you will accomplish. Or you can come back and say, we'll do 2 the first year, 1 the third year, 3 the fourth year, whatever, okay? And then we'll take that as going forward target. Each action item will be worth 100 points. 100 points times the number of completions they signed up for a year will be the goal for that year. The action outline will be where the points will accumulate from, and I'll show you an example of that. Points will be cumulative. So there's no penalty for early completions, okay? Actually, it actually helps you. So going through the outline, once you complete the base, and it's a simplistic outline, it does not have to be comprehensive. It's just set some targets. So once you've got the outline with responsibilities and cumulative targets, you gain 15 points of the 100. When you reach 25% completion, you get 15 more, 50%, you get 15 more, 75, 15 more. Incorporation of support parties, you get 20 points for that. Secure funding gets you 10 more points, and project completion gets you 10 for a total of 100.
Can you give an example of that?
I'm gonna show you an example.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little.
Okay,
So can we just back up 1 second? I just have to get something in mind. So what is the purpose of the scorecard? What are we trying to achieve with that?
you're trying to show progress overall for the town on attacking the action items that have been presented by the master plan advisor. There's 135 action plans.
Okay.
Forgot how many economic development have, but they have quite a few.
Yeah, we have 15
15,
direct
is
and 32 supporting.
Correct.
And you have
Yeah.
134, did you say?
It's 135,
135.
yeah, but we've now established 5 new ones. We did a total review of the master plan and said that we felt there were 5 areas that weren't properly covered, so we've got 5 new ones. So,
And scorecards of this type aren't unusual for pushing projects forward.
right,
Manage and measure
Different,
progress.
yeah.
Mhm.
That really?
It's polite pressure,
Okay.
okay?
So Yeah, maybe Craig and I have a question too. So the master plan, is that until 2040?
2040, yes,
That's the goal?
yes.
So it's
we
another
technically
50.
have 20 years to complete the project.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Think we'll make it, Serena?
I don't think so.
We hope that it takes less.
Kicking the can down the street. Okay.
Okay.
Everybody's gotta keep up your diet and exercise, so you will all live to 24.
That's just for the master plan.
Yes.
So this is an example of an outline.
Okay.
All right.
And this was one that I did for lake management. Had to do with doing analysis of erosion, lake erosion, okay? So I put the outline together. And I got 15 points for the outline. The next thing I had to research types of lake erosion, because there's several of them. And that's worth 15 points, and that is done. Then I researched the types of preventative solutions. I've done that, so I got 15 points for that. And I researched companies and approximate costs for each of the possible solutions, okay? And I got some points for that. And then I prepared a draft letter to the waterfront owners of Lake Congamon, both Connecticut and Massachusetts. And we have finally come to an agreement on that letter. They're gonna modify it to the changes, but basically it's done. And that would get us 75% complete, which gives us another 15 points. So what's left is modify the letter, then send it out to support parties for their comments and approvals, okay, and feedback. Then modify the letter to incorporate the support parties. And we're kind of overshadowed here. I can't see the.
Formatting issue.
Yeah, and secure funding is the only funding on this one is the printing and the postage. Okay, so this is a real simple one.
Mhm.
Okay, and the takeaway was the greater the knowledge of the subject by the support parties, the earlier you should bring them into the program. Okay, in this particular case, this was a research project. We felt there was nobody on the support that offered a lot of knowledge about lake erosion.
Mm.
Okay, so we're bringing them in at the end. On some of your stuff, you may want to bring them in very early. And then very late to, to endorse the final product.
So what if, I mean, secure funding, what if one of our projects require a grant or something like that? We really have no control over that. So I mean, does that hold up?
Well, that's covered in I think the next chart. Oh, okay,
Okay.
all right. And
Are you
that-
using AI? Chat GBT or what?
Okay, so here is how the cumulative points work, okay? Year one, let's say this is all hypothetical data here, okay? This committee says that we're gonna accomplish 2 completions the first year, 2 the second, 2 the third, 2 the fourth, and 1 the fifth, okay? So they had to do 200 cumulative points the first time, 2 times 100. They actually completed 220. So they're 110% of the goal, so they're gonna be green for year one. And green is your 90 to 100%. Yellow, you're 75 to 89, and red, you're below 75. Okay? And the advantage of the cumulative is if they didn't complete one of their action items that they promised to do, they can fill that gap for 20 points by working on another project. Okay, that's the beauty of the cumulative, okay? Year two, they signed up for 2, they did 190, so they didn't quite make their goal on the yearly basis, but cumulatively they did. This it was 102%, so they still remain green. Year three, they signed up for another 200, they did 170. So they were 97% to date on a cumulative basis, so they still remain green, okay? Year two, or year four, excuse me, they did only 85 out of 200. So they were, what is that, 38%, 83. So for the year, they were red, but the cumulative, they remained yellow. In year five, they didn't complete anything, and they fell below 74%, so cumulative, they were red at year five. Okay, so the beauty, to answer your question, if you don't get funding, but I think we talked about that at the last time I was here. And that what we'll do for unfunded programs is we'll keep it on the horizon for 5 years. We claim the 80 points. Okay, but unfunded, we're gonna keep it for 5 years. After 5 years, if it still isn't funded, it goes to the select board to decide if they want to continue it open
Mhm.
or close it. Okay? And I think in most instances, they'll keep it open. Okay? But over time, hopefully, there's not a lot of federal grants right now.
Yeah,
And it may not be until we have another Democratic president, but, so we may have some difficulty with funding. You know. Okay?
you also talked at the last meeting where, I mean, I can see a situation where we might just throw up our hands and say, you know, it doesn't look like we're gonna get grant money, so why hang this on out there 5 years? So can't we have that abolished? We talked about a way of,
We have ways to cancel.
yeah,
Yes, we do.
right,
Yep.
okay.
You gave me the whole presentation about modification
Right,
procedure.
okay. Okay, now, we're looking at the same scorecards before, but now it's got just the individual year, because the MPIC decided my approach was only do cumulative. They said they wanted individual years too, okay? So it's the same numbers. For year one, they signed up for 2, they got 2, so they're green. Year 2 signed up for 2, did 2, they're green. Year 3, they signed up for 2, only did 1, they fall below 74%, so they're red. Year 3. Year 4 signed up for 2, did 2, they're green again, 100%. Year 5, they signed up for 1, did 2, they're 200% for goals, so they were green. So what I don't like about the 1 year is it's difficult. There will be very few yellows under individual years, because you're not gonna sign up to do 10 action items in a year. You know, so we're gonna either be red or we're gonna be green, in my eyes. But that's something that you guys can think about.
Right, and I like the cumulative because you're not penalized for getting stuff
Right.
done early. You're not tempted to say, oh, we could get 3 done this year, but we're gonna push 1 off to next year.
Right, yeah. Okay, this is just how to claim an action item completion. You have to submit something to MPIC with the right information, a synopsis of what transpired, evidence of the support groups who were involved. Is funding required? Has it been secured? What is the plan to keep the progress sustainable? MPIC will approve the request and forward to the select board and planning boards for final approval. Okay, pretty straightforward. All right. And at the end of each year, we're gonna give a year-end report and what would it look like, okay? Okay, so this would be looking at the overall target, not the individual commissions. Hopefully, we're gonna say all lead organizations have set their goals for completions of all actions. Hopefully, they've completed some actions, or some X amount have been completed, Y amount have hopefully been started and completed. Of the 27 lead organizations have all started their projects. We're hoping they're gonna say that. And Z organizations have completed at least 1 action item. And then we're thinking we'll do some sort of award for the number 1 commission that does the best for aggressively attacking their action items. Okay,
What are we thinking that award's gonna look like?
what's that?
What are we thinking that award's gonna look like?
Oh, they asked me that. We hadn't talked about that yet. Other than their name would be showing up on the annual report.
Now, who keeps track of this?
MPIC will,
MPEC.
yeah. Yeah.
Is that an entity that's here or?
Yes, it's another committee that was formed as a recommendation as from the Master Plan Advisory Committee
Oh,
to form this committee and to monitor the progress and assist in the progress. We're doing all the upfront stuff now. Once we've done all the upfront stuff, we're planning on, we'll be out assisting those committees that have an overabundance of action
Action-
items,
action
to
items.
hopefully do research for them so that they can get done, because the planning board and select board are just slammed,
mhm.
you know? Okay, so here is where the individual commissions would show up. On the first column, we got the listing of the organizations, whether the current year is red, yellow, or green. And the cumulative, whether it's red, yellow, or green, again, the same targets are down below, and we'll list them all. And I think this is all 27 that are listed up there right now. So it's just gonna be a simple red, yellow, green. And we'll take the feedback we got from the three sample organizations, go back, we'll talk about the cumulative versus the current year. So,
Okay.
and here's a sample that from the Agricultural Commission, which also shows the cumulative effect. Okay, they had 4 action items. So on year 1, they did, on action item 1, which was 3.1, they did the outline, they did 25% complete, did 25%, 50% complete, 75% complete, and involved the sort parties. So they did 80 points, okay? But they didn't complete it, okay? And they signed up for do 1 completion. On the second project, they did 45 points. On the third project, they did 30 points. So they did 155 against the goal of 100. So even though they did not complete the project, they got a green. Okay, because they got 100 points. That's the advantage of the cumulative. Okay. Year 2, all the NAs, they can't claim for points because they took them in year 1. Okay. So year 2, they completed number 1, they completed number 2, and they got number 3 up to 80%. And they started the last item. So they did 295 points for the 2 years. The cumulative goal was 200, so they remain green. All right. So that's the advantage of the cumulative. And this is where we stand so far on the prioritization of action items. 20 of 44 organizations have completed their prioritizations of action items. Economic development, I think, was the first to complete.
Right.
That puts us in the green then.
Huh? We're in the green there.
So can we coast?
You won't coast, I know
Okay.
that. Now, I was also recommending we put up a ones that the organizations that haven't completed their prioritizations, but I got voted down. They thought I was too harsh. And that's the presentation.
Okay,
I agree with Greg. I think that the cumulative way to go on.
Yeah,
So can I, like, in summary, real quick, so we'll earn points by making progress on our action items.
Correct.
Those action items will be broken down into like 25%, 50%,
Yeah, you'll have to
75%.
produce a short.
That was my
outline.
question. How is that
You-
defined?
You'll have to produce that. I
Okay,
wouldn't spend a lot of time. I'll just put some targets on it. And that's just so that your liaison can say that they agree with you, that you've done 50%, you've done 80%. You know,
now, I mean, some of these action items, we're already pretty much, I'm pretty far into them.
Yes, you are.
So will we accumulate points for previous actions? prior to
yes,
this? Okay,
everything you've done so far will show up in year 1.
Okay.
Okay, which starts July 1st.
that answers my questions.
Okay.
Thanks.
You know, I like the approach somebody once said, I forget who, that you can't manage what you can't measure.
Right.
And
Yeah.
providing measurements for things allows you to stay on top of it and track.
Any other feedback?
Um, I assume this will, once you take it back to the group and gets voted on, then it'll be distributed to all of us.
Absolutely.
We don't have to memorize this right now.
No, it's still draft. We'll discuss whether, we want to present this, our final version to the select board and planning board for their approval or not. I'll recommend that. But we'll see what the team says.
Okay,
And then it'll be officially issued. Now, relatively soon, I would think as soon as we get a few more prioritizations in, we'll be submitting to you, sign up for what you think is reasonable on completions. And I
Yeah.
can tell you, I wanna warn you that working with support groups for approvals that only meet sometimes once a month or twice a month, sometimes they take the summer off. Getting their buy-in will always take you longer than you think.
Yeah.
Okay, and for instance, on that erosion project, the goal was to mail it out in February.
Mhm.
We started, I presented it to them in November. And we couldn't agree on the final product for 4 months. So we missed a free mailing.
So who are the support groups here? What, define that?
Well, every lead action has a bunch of support groups that.
In that case,
And on the erosion, let's see, Conservation Commission is on that, Select Board's on that.
oh,
Okay.
I see.
And we haven't even brought it to them yet. We couldn't, amongst ourselves, it took us 4 months. Cause we had in there like 13 items of things the town could do to prevent lakefront or erosion. And it took us 4 months to prioritize that list, 4 months. So be cautious when you sign up.
right.
You know,
And I
make it
encourage
reasonable.
everybody to prioritize according to the things we think we could do quicker
Yeah.
rather than later.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's in the order that we can accomplish realistically. And now we have help, so we'll
Yeah,
get it all
that-
done
Oh,
early.
yeah, no. So now how long will you be doing this? 5 years, 10 years?
As long as it takes, and as
15?
long as we're showing progress.
Okay,
I would think at some point in time, we're gonna fall off the deep end and say, you know, there's 28 items on the list that no longer should be done for a number of reasons, technology changes or
Yeah,
right.
politics change,
Hmm.
you know.
but if we can get the majority done by 2040,
Right,
that'll be great.
absolutely. So it'll be up to the select board how long we're an active group.
Okay.
We have an opening in case anybody's interested.
We have 2
Oh, yeah,
openings.
Pam, right? Pam was on it.
Pam was on it. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Well, from an economic development standpoint, we like the fact that she's very busy and
yes, that's really good for her.
in her
Really good. for her.
Sangamon coffee business.
Okay.
On the bike, right on the bike trail.
So
Okay.
if you don't mind, if you don't have any more comments, I'll stay for a little while. anyway.
Oh, yeah, stay as long as you'd like.
Okay.
And we'll jump into other things. I'd like to first do our housekeeping here. Everybody got a copy of our minutes from the last
Yes,
meeting and
yes.
I didn't get any comments
Yeah,
from,
no,
so we're
fine.
ready to vote. Well, all in favor of, oh,
Is the gentleman still on the screen?
Oh, yeah, we gotta put him back on, Mark.
I'm here.
Mark is still there.
Okay.
Our
I'm here.
screen just.
Thank you. Thank you for,
Let's see if it
looking
went
out.
off. I can, no, it was on.
Did you?
I didn't click
I can
anything.
hear you
to
and
play it.
see you, so I'm here.
Right, I don't think it affects the recording, but it's affecting the transmission to the screen. But it is on here. And since we've gotten through the presentation,
yeah.
all I did was stop the share. I didn't shut off. You can see
Yeah, there he is.
Did you stop?
we're all on the screen.
Did you stop the show?
Yeah, you're still broadcasting. visually
yeah.
and audio,
it's-
so.
Good.
And it says it's still recording, so I think we're
Okay.
okay. I don't know what happened to the connection. I think it's just a matter of connection to here. It looks like it's on, it's just not transmitting it.
So we're gonna vote on the minutes?
Yes, all in favor of, well, let's have a motion to approve the minutes,
Well,
second. And all in favor of
Aye.
approving the minutes, say aye.
I,
Approved unanimously. Okay, wanted to. We already know we have a couple vacancies, want everybody to think about that, encourage anybody you know to hop in and join that. Fill out an application, there's online applications for all of the boards and commissions. And so that can be considered soon. I don't know what the schedule of the select board in years past often didn't get to it till August or even later, but maybe they're gonna get to it sooner, so I encourage anybody you know to apply. And also wanted to talk about our meeting next month. I've been to every meeting for 2 years. I do have a family vacation up in northern Vermont with all my adult children and son-in-law and all. And it's right in the middle of the month. Couple choices. We could have somebody else chair a meeting, you could go ahead. Or we could skip a meeting for summer. Any thoughts, discussion?
I'm okay with skipping. I think these
I am
things have a
too.
lot to do with this boom and all. We're falling behind on that. So I mean.
Yeah, we're continuing. We still have subcommittees that are still actively accomplishing things and that's one of the big ones. And we're gonna go through all of those goals and the subcommittees very quickly today. Okay, I'm okay with that too, because it's kind of the perfect point to have a break. We're wrapping up the current fiscal year. And then we'll all be refreshed when we come back in August to start hard into the new year. And you'll have a couple months to prepare because I'm gonna give you assignments to think about before our next time we meet. I also wanted to just mention, last week I attended a conference of an organization that I've been a member of for some time that is called Strong Towns. It was started by a guy named Charles Marone and he was a traffic engineer and he's started an organization that was all about involved. Their priorities are to create economically strong towns or cities or neighborhoods that are also catering to the human needs at the same time. So he emphasizes walkability and bike and mixed use and the kind of human scale retail and doing it in a way that actually strengthens the economics of a town, that often the really large businesses and the ones that are outside of a town center don't really contribute as much to the strength of the community because they spread out the town center and so you don't get that synergy of having a bunch of business together, and it incurs in some ways more infrastructure the more you spread out the town's center. If you can have more walkable, more things in the town center, that's better. One of our big challenges economically is our road infrastructure. Staying up with the maintenance of roads is a big deal. And we're behind on that. We can do a little at a time, but it doesn't take much of a mile of road to eat up $1 million or more to redo. So those are things that were emphasized. And we had 2 days, it was in Providence, Rhode Island. We had 2 days of speakers, a lot of valuable stuff I'm going to use in the coming year and things I'm looking at. And was just a whole lot of people from all over the country. It was their national gathering. So there were people from Canada and all over the US, 600 some, and they were both people that work for towns, employees, volunteers, and just citizen action people, but all people that had practical action with a lot of great ideas. Had one guy that was a super expert on bike trails and how they interact with intersections, was from California. Others that were really good at analyzing property tax statistics and deciding what kind of development produced the most value for a town or a city. A lot of things I'm gonna be putting in, just wanted to mention that if that's Strong Towns, it's the organization. And they put out a ton of videos and articles. If anybody's interested, I can point you to their website with a ton of content. Okay, let us now quickly go into a wrap up of our 2025 goals, which I think we did pretty well. We had, teams for each of these 10 goals that worked on these, and we actually completed a lot of them. The first one was to populate all the tabs of our EDC website with useful content and links for target audiences. Stephen, you did a lot of great work making that happen with input from Jack, and we've got a great start for the website. We'll continually add to it, but at least we have a solid base website now to move forward.
And Enjoy Southwick is a big part of that. So thank you for your work on that.
Yeah, that was another goal that we'll get to. Then the second goal was, it's great to have a website, but what really matters is the traffic. You have to track that traffic and make sure people are seeing the website. So I track that, I look at it every day. And we set a target. We said, we want 2,000 unique users and 10,000 page views by the end of the year. Well, we beat the first one. We're around 2,200 unique users as of now, with more coming in every day. And we're around 8,500 page views. We'll get some more, but we're getting reasonably close to those goals. And if we had better weather the last few weeks, we might have got more on our big signs. That is another goal that has links to the website and starting to add significant traffic. Okay, the third one is we wanted to do a new business evaluation process in which we could get the support of the select board and planning board. And we did draft up a whole process. Mark helped, was very involved with this. We sat down and had a long meeting with Diane Gale, and I think it was late December, early January, and talked through it. And the challenge with it, and we had used Dollar General as a sample case where we would evaluate it. It was only a sample case because we realized it had already been decided on at that point and already went into mediation, I guess. So it was just a sample, but the idea of looking at, well, what will this contribute? Is this the kind of business, do an analysis, project what the tax revenues would be from it, project what the impact to abutters and the town, whether it affects employment, what the competitive environment is. Does it really bring extra stuff or just dilute the existing businesses? Doing that kind of analysis, and then also look at the expenses it could incur on the town. What impact does it have on infrastructure and on traffic and any other kind of things? But we didn't actually implement it because the concern was that there were too many things that were somewhat subjective. And so we developed something. Our goal is that if you have a new business, a major new business, we're not worried about small businesses. They come and go and don't have that big of an impact. But if there's a major new business, we would like to have an opinion on it. And we'd like to be able to to speak it, but we realize also we have to be careful what we say. We tried to even have a disclaimer saying this was solely the opinion of Economic Development Board and does not reflect the official position of the town or any other board commission, but there's concern about that. But we would like to be able to present factual, objective as possible information. So we're going back to the drawing board on that. I'm continuing as part of this process. I did through an information request, got all of the property tax data for the town in a database format and put it into a filtered spreadsheet in Excel so I could analyze what kinds of developments produced what kinds of revenues and especially revenue per acre. With the limited amount of acreage, we want to focus on those things that have the highest return for the limited amount of the land that can be developed. It's not infinite. It's the one thing any town has, purely limited amount of. And a next step I want to do and thinking about is I want to delve into the expense side some more. I want to go to, maybe I'll do an information request to DPW, John Goddard, whoever's going to be running it, to say, can I have a download of all the costs per street? And maybe there's a spreadsheet or a database that has what work they put in for each street over maybe 10 years or more, and kind of see the trend line. Where are we going and what are the factors that add to that potential expense? Looking at it like the town was a business. We have revenues and we have expenses. And in order to plan for economic development, you have to know your revenues and expenses and then have a long-term plan to stay in the black. And that if you can't stay in the black, then the thing that suffers is the maintenance of the town, and the tax rate can go up. And we want to focus on what kinds of developments can add to the revenue and minimize expense. So formulating that into another goal that we'll look at more in the coming year. So next goal was to design, produce, and install durable signs promoting Southwick recreational assets, and we did that.
Hey, Greg, can I just make a comment on that
Sure,
previous
absolutely.
goal? Yeah. So, one of the things now that we've got, some legs, some assistance, I think it's important, we had talked about, some of the sort of the genesis of this whole profile that we were trying to put together, or tool to profile businesses was, I guess the best way to characterize it, up to this point, we've been very reactive. So, people buying a parcel of land and wanting to do something. And so you do need kind of a filter for some things that are inherently subjective. Like, there's some very broad language, I think, in the town bylaws that talk about, the types of businesses that would meet, the sort of the feeling of the town, and we've been, very, farm oriented, recreation oriented community. So like when, the Carvana proposal came forward, there was really no tool to sort of measure that, whether it was the, subjective or the objective elements. Like, is this good for the town? As Greg was saying, is this good economically for the town? Will it generate, revenue? What about the puts and takes? Will it generate enough revenue to cover the costs and expenses that particular type of business is going to generate? So I think, what we were trying to do is meet that objective of providing a tool so that you can measure a business and provide some input, because that is the role, economic development. We're supposed to advise the town on things that'll help improve the economy of Southwick. Now, to get proactive, we need to understand what the ideal business is for Southwick. Is it a, agricultural application? Is it recreational? Is it, a Carvana? Well, the answer to that was no. The people in town didn't want that, but we need to have at least a yardstick, a measuring tape, if you will, to, kind of look at things, from a, an impact standpoint and, a sort of a cultural fit with the town. And we don't have that. So that's what this whole,
Mhm.
process was
Yeah.
intended to do. And I don't think we had, things that were objectionable other than the fact that what the town was going through, because it didn't have a process for the second time and was now kind of being pushed by the business owner in a legal manner. So anyways, I'll stop there, but I
Yeah,
just
no,
think it's
that-
important to
and-
frame
Yeah,
that.
that's good, yeah.
And what you're saying there, triggers in my mind, one thing we could do and maybe could consider for a goal, think about it, is develop a list of the businesses we would most like to see. That wouldn't be offensive in any way. Things that fit our infrastructure, things that fit the needs, that maybe are the ideal kind of employment, that are the things that would enhance the quality of life and round out the town. We could develop a wish list perhaps to do that. And on the other proactive side is addressed by another one of our goals. We'll get to in a minute, the input to zoning, because that could have preemptively addressed the issues of Carvana and Dollar General if we had that in place.
And I got to tell you, there's other, there's other considerations. I mean, please, no more dispensaries allowed in town. I don't think we can, but to have two dispensaries, this is just illogical to me, to have two dispensaries that are so close to each other and on the same road. It's just unfathomable. We need to have some better guardrails about, decision making, and I think that's the other intent here. I mean, that's just it's ridiculous, but that's my personal opinion, not the opinion of EDC.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for the input. And I guess this will be your last meeting, right, Mark? Anything you want to say
No.
or did you change your mind and decide to stay on?
No. You can tell I'm still very passionate about it. Love the town.
Yes.
Love the people in the town. You all have been just a pleasure to serve with. I'm and Greg, you in particular, I'm just like so amazed with the amount of time and attention, energy that you put into things. It's really it's humbling.
Well, I'm sure you could do that if you were retired.
Maybe, but you certainly bring a lot of energy to it. But I will tell you this, even though I'm not going to renew, my appointment, which I appreciate, select board giving me the opportunity. I am available to help, and I have pledged to you, Greg, that I will make sure that any sort of remaining elements, any straggling elements on the work that we've done together that need to be, have a bow put on them. I'm here to help, and I'm here to help. Call me anytime. I'd love to be able to, serve, whether it's a committee or a task force or something. But it's just not fair for me with my, particularly with my travel schedule when I can't be there to be part of the commission. So, thank you.
Well, and I don't see why I couldn't include you on emails with our agendas and minutes just for so it's in front of you and you can, provide your input as you want.
Sure. Love to help.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes, thank you for
Thank you
the
for
service
everything.
you've done. Okay, we're just saying that with the signs, we did complete that. I'm tracking the traffic to where the QR code goes, it's getting into the hundreds of clicks, but as I say, as we get more people out on the bike trails and in the boat ramps and the weekends, we put it all, I don't know, Alvin, if you've seen the big signs we have at the kiosks for the north and south boat ramp, for the Miller Road bike trail parking area, and for the Route 57 kiosk just off of Route 57 on the bike trail, and the Granville Gorge, which is surprisingly, Granville Gorge so far, I think, has more clicks on people looking up that site than anything else in the recreation area. And it's.
Do you know where that is? No,
No, is it off of 57?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
it says you're going just before you go up the hill toward Granville. It's off to the right, kind of a small sign. It's a little parking lot, and it's just a beautiful little section of the water flowing through the rocks and down through the deep gorge. There's a very deep gorge between Sodom Mountain, Drake Mountain there that you drive 57 out to Granville, you don't even realize how deep it is unless you really, because you can't see to the bottom of it, most of that road, because it's very deep.
Check it.
So one thing that we did get done, and my goal was to get this done by early spring, and we had the signs up by the end of March. So a goal accomplished there. And you know, we have more things to do on that front to promote, but we'll think about what additional goals we might have. Then we wanted to start to arrange meetings with groups of business owners. We didn't really get that off the ground this year. We talked about it. I think we should revise that goal for next year and make it very specific. This kind of meeting for this kind of group. And any thoughts you have, Stephen?
I agree with that. Last meeting spoke about small business lending, and it seems like a good idea. Response was a little lukewarm, but actually kind of anecdotal. But I had multiple people say, "Oh, are you guys doing the farm day thing again?" So that might be at least people that an intro there, just anecdotally.
Yeah, I think to get specific, it didn't hurt to wait a little bit. You have to have some accomplishments to build credibility so that businesses are, you don't want, the worst thing is to bring a bunch of businesses, what do you guys want to do?
Right.
No, we should
Yeah.
be full of ideas that would excite businesses and to get their input on the types of things they want to see. And like we talked about, perhaps doing a print brochure that could be distributed, where they distribute brochures that would be a map of that people would actually, a map that could be funded by the businesses to have a nominal membership cost. Maybe if you call it the Southwick Business Association, you know, they put in $100 or something like that, and they get a place on the map. And you get 50 people and you could fund printing, you know, 10,000 of these maps and distribute them. And that would be a printed directory. We have our online directory, but it doesn't hurt to have printed version of it. And sometimes people like to just browse through and, oh, here's where all the businesses are, and, you know, and I didn't bring my sample maps, but there's a couple sample maps that particularly the Jacob Ladder Business Association, the Hilltown puts out a map they had the last 7 years, that they've had some that fold out real big of all the hill towns and the locations. And you make it valuable to people because it's not just the businesses, but you put your recreational locations in there so they know the way to places. So it's something they keep, it's informational. And then it also has the locations of the restaurants and the farm stands and anything that would be of interest, not just to the residents, but especially to visitors from out of town, and can be distributed in places where out of town visitors would pick them up. And again, not be a cost to the taxpayers at all, but if they could be funded as an advertising cost to the businesses. We've got a revolving account set up to collect business association fees that could fund something like this. In fact, our gift account was done from past efforts like that. And before I forget, I want to
Right.
mention our accounts. We want to, we got to the end of June to wrap that up. Now, we put through the expenses for the production of these signs and the larger metal ones. And we prioritized it to come out of our annual account. So hopefully that will be mostly zeroed out by the end of June. And the balance coming out of that gift account, which is what?
Like, was it $4,000?
It was 3,700 something.
Right.
And I think we're gonna end up with 1,500 or 2,000 left. It depends on what additional expenses are in Southwick and in Bloom.
Okay.
We need to wrap up those expenses by the end of the month,
I
make
think
sure
you
they're,
get those signs
The
and
lawn signs, yeah,
get that number down,
yeah.
yeah, somehow could you get those and it takes a week or
little bit of
so,
time,
once you
right.
get they have to have the original bill and accounting has to be signed off. I'll come in anytime you want to sign off
Okay,
the bills. But once that's all signed off, I think it's all under 3,000, which doesn't need a purchase request. But I'd come in and signed off, but it still takes a week after that to go into the next
right,
week's.
right.
Uh,
And is
you
it
know,
fiscal year 6/30? Is it? the end of-
yeah,
Yeah, okay,
so get them
Okay.
in
okay.
right away.
So what about the banners? Is that all within process?
I don't know, has that been processed?
I haven't seen it come through.
Who'd you get that through?
Southwoods,
Oh. So between that and the yard signs, I think that's all we have, isn't it?
I think so.
Okay.
And the
know the
posters or
total
whatever,
amount?
that I don't know. I
Okay,
think Julie
well,
knows.
get them, make sure, Julie was away or something,
Or is she going away? I was away.
well, somebody get in touch with her
Yeah.
and make sure that anything she has, get your group
Outstanding,
together
okay,
and, let me know, get the invoices, make sure the invoices are delivered next week to accounting, and I'll
Okay.
come down and sign it and then make sure it
Okay.
gets in the check runner before the end of the month.
okay,
Cause I don't want that to go over into next year. We wanna have a clean, although in one sense, if we come out of the gift account, we've already. That's carries over, so maybe it's not quite as urgent, but I'd like to get,
okay.
I'd still
Alright.
like to wrap it
Alright.
up by the.
Do we still have some in the other account or you think it's zeroed out?
I requested for Julie to put it in to zero it out as much as possible, because
Okay.
we put in all of
The
this.
website stuff and
We
everything,
put in all of this, and
Okay.
we had very little website.
okay,
I just do the website myself, and we have very low cost for website, but for all these signs,
Mhm.
especially the big metal ones.
yeah,
Those have all been put in and. I asked that give priority, come out of the annual account first, so hopefully that's.
Okay.
Nearly zeroed out. We just have a $15 to $1,700 annual budget. We're not.
oh, we didn't
spending
get the
big bucks.
3,000, how much do we have? 2,000?
But in the gift account, there was,
Yeah, the 3,700, yeah,
there was 3743.36 and that's the amount. I guess it's not a disaster if we don't wrap up the Southwick and Bloom, because that is a carryover account, but
okay,
I still
wanna do it, yeah.
like to get I like to pay our bills promptly.
What do we have coming for next year? What's our budget?
It's the same as this year for the,
15?
yeah,
Oh, we've got, I thought we used to have more than that.
15 or 1,700. That's all we've got, and they wanted to level fund everything in the next year and even drop it by 5%. So I don't know that we have any projects as big as this coming up. as I say, if we do this print brochure, I want it to be business funded rather than tax base funded. Yeah, I've got a bias as economic development. I want to keep taxes down. I don't want to spend anything we don't have to spend.
Amen.
Amen.
Anyway, well, I think
Okay.
I think it's okay because we should be using up as of the check run this week, I think we'll pretty much zero out our annual account. So I
Okay.
think we're gonna be okay, but I still would like to get
All right.
that wrapped up. Okay, so meetings we want to formulate a new goal for meetings that's much more specific. Our sixth goal was to increase awareness of vacant town
Town
business
property, yeah.
properties. We did get link in the website, so that part we got done. We're not gonna try to actively maintain some kind of promotion at this point, but maybe I'd appreciate, Alvin, any ideas you have on how to better make our vacant business properties visible to. Are there any other ideas to put it out there? We've got that nursery property that I showed you there that I'm not sure that's being promoted. It's not on the business listings that I can find. I'm not sure how that's being promoted there.
It's not
Um,
just by private sale with a sign on the property. I agree. I couldn't find anything.
Question, the
Yeah.
data that you're receiving in regards to the vacant properties, are you getting that from assessors or from the building department, or where do you get that information from?
We don't, Mark, we look at business for sale websites like, Mark, go ahead and
LoopNet or
comment.
something?
There's several that like the real estate agents use, and Pam had given us some guidance on this because Pam came from that world. And so that's where we go. The web listings that the commercial real estate, whether it's a sale, a lease, a rent of a building, or raw land. That's what we've been keeping our eye on.
Mhm.
Okay,
So we just want to be aware of it. We haven't come up with any great ideas for how to make these more visible, other than putting them on our EDC website, putting the links to that. We don't try to, do something we have to change every time. We just put the links and say, if you want to find out what opportunities are here are some links to business for sale websites. But
Because
we'd appreciate it.
when we had asked, if you remember, Greg, we had asked, there's no credible, reliable way that the commission can be fed information about, vacant properties or properties for sale through any town mechanism. So we thought, well, we'll go out and we'll develop that mechanism. So at the very least, if somebody were to call you and say, I'm interested in coming to town, here's what I need, at least there would be a source to go to, either by that, company or business concern, or by somebody in your role. You have a sort of a shortcut to get to what is currently on the commercial registries for sale or lease, and that nursery is just a private sale, which there seems to be a lot of here in town. So there's no reliable way other than through network, talking with people and kind of driving around town, that you see these things. Right, Greg?
Right.
Right, and I would encourage all of our group to be aware of those businesses for sale and bring them up. If we see something new
Right.
on the market, we can talk about it in our meeting and kind of spread it around. We had, for example, with Julie's church is this large Russian Baptist church up down the road toward Connecticut that is for sale because they're moving to they ran out of space, even as large as it was. They're moving to Agawam. Shays
Chez
Joseph.
Joseph, yeah.
And that's on an R40 zone. But maybe it's something for a medical facility or whatever. It's like $1 million plus building. And a lot of parking and some land up the hill behind it. So there's things we might assist in discussing zoning and whatever, but just being aware of what kinds of businesses and any connections we might have through Western Mass EDC or any other groups that might talk about. By the way, I participated last week on Thursday, once a month on Thursday, the Economic Development Partners have a presentation through Zoom. And I participated in the last one, and it was, well, one thing they talked about a little bit was how the governor has priorities to have certain areas with, and I forget all the things, but one of it was like quantum computing or something, centers for that, and that Western Mass wanted to claim. And they said, what do you think? Any of the people on the call, interested in? And I spoke up right away and said, let us know, if opportunities, make us aware of them so that if it's something we think fits, that we can pitch for it.
So that church down there, how hard would it be to get that zoning changed? I mean, that's sort of a catch-22 because we don't want to really get in a situation where favorites are played and.
Well,
I mean, you have to consider the neighbors. So,
it's not a big residential area. There's a lot of kind of farm businesses and things down there. There's not really much in the way of residential.
So whose call is it? The
on that
planning board?
stretch. I don't know how hard it is to do spot zoning changes. And maybe we don't need to. There are some uses that fit into R40 that could be business. I don't know.
When you say spot zoning, is there any other R40 surrounding the site?
It's all R40, so
All
it's
R40.
both sides of the road, up and down there.
Okay,
But whether we could get, that particular building or facility broadened in any way.
I'll look into it.
There is room even up behind, I forget how many acres, it's like 30 acres.
Is it that much? Wow.
It's quite a bit because it has land up the hill.
Why didn't they just expand there?
Well,
It's an odd shaped lot. It kind of goes into a neck and then broadens out.
Oh,
I mean, the upper part has an access road to it. But, for their purpose, it wasn't easy to expand their facility there. And it might have been more expensive than moving to one already built.
Okay.
I mean, maybe their demographics were such that they have a lot of clientele from over there or something too. Well,
yeah, maybe it's more centralized, for the people that go.
Yeah, that could be an issue
Probably.
too.
It looks like it could be used for a school of some sort too, like a preschool or a
Daycare.
daycare. That's what
Yeah,
it looks
and
like to me.
There's a number of different uses that might fit in
Yeah.
with the R40. So it doesn't necessarily need to be changed. Although those are, when we get to we'll wait till we get to the zoning one. I'll mention a couple things. Okay, number 7 was the goal was make a strong economic case for enhancements to town center, starting with the lower speed limits and crosswalks. Yeah, we did make the case. So in a sense, we completed that goal because we presented the case directly to the select board. We voted on here, unanimously supported it. But when I took it to special town meeting, it didn't get support of the select board, and that's what killed it, but I think we can revise that in some ways, and one of the goals I want to formulate next year involves the rail trail connector to the town center that I've got proposed, that I haven't seen any negatives to it yet. We've even, I've got David DeLore involved from Chair Park and Rec, and also friends and he's fully supportive of it. Diane Gale said she loved the idea, fully supportive.
I think
of
the
it.
abutters wouldn't be, like my friend that owns that house there, he wouldn't be in favor of that.
Well, he's gonna have, there's a fence around his property.
Right, right.
So I don't think, see how.
He already has it coming down one
The-
way.
The bigger issue for him is he's gonna have the whole townhouse condo property, whatever. you call
Yeah.
it, will abut his
I mean, I
back
don't
there.
know,
This is just a little
Cross through.
avenue. It crosses a couple hundred feet of his property. It's not gonna go into his property. It just
Hmm.
crosses the edge of it and then goes straight up the
So
hill.
would you have to get variances for all those people on that road
What people?
that back up to that on that street?
It doesn't,
No?
that it doesn't go near Sefton at
Oh,
all.
it doesn't go near Sefton, okay.
It's way
Okay.
inward. And
Okay.
from his property, it's not visible from his house. It's
Okay.
way in the back, and he's got a fenced in area
Mhm.
and it's a hill and a pond construction.
Mhm.
It's not inside of his property at all. And it's not anywhere close to the other ones there. And I've already, even a couple weeks ago, had the people from the gas line, because there's a gas.
Yeah,
line that goes
Tennessee
through there,
pipeline.
And had a rep come out. We walked to it with David DeLore, and the rep said, I don't see any problem with this. You have to fulfill this and this requirement. That shouldn't be a problem. And the developer has been contacted and he says, we're fine with it. We'll support whatever the town wants to do on that. So I think it's open. The questions are, applying, getting grant money for it and
Right.
moving the process forward as we can. So I'm just staying in touch with, because Park and Rec maintains the
The rail trail?
rail trails. They will take the lead on it, but I want to, have as one of our goals to support that in every way we can, because it's a huge economic boost to bring what can be in the summer, 12 or 1,500 people go through it in a day on a weekend on that
Mm.
trail. And it's just another quarter mile, and they're right in our town center, and no easy way either on Depot Street or Feeding Hill Street to do it. So that could help all of it, and it brings in customers without bringing in more cars,
Mhm.
which is good. So I'll work that into, a modification of this goal. Then the partnership of Southwick Public Library, Gene was doing that on the team, or Craig, you're also on it, but I met with, a week ago, I met with Jack, since he wasn't gonna be here. We talked about goals and things that we were doing, and he wants to get more involved actively with some things in the coming year. And he said he'd be willing to take a lead on the library one. And since his expertise is in the finance area, I also want to get him involved in some of our analysis of revenues and expenses for the other project we talked about. So we'll keep that going. We do have the link, so we did get it started. But there are the library has a lot of information, both to help small businesses and also to help people seeking jobs. We want to be sure that, because we'd like our website to be a resource for several audiences. The priority we gave was to be a resource for residents. We have the whole business directory and the Enjoy Southwick on there. Then as a resource for business owners, we have information on Common Capital, on a bunch of places where they get information about how to help their businesses or business information, and the library has a lot of that, so we can link to things the library has. At some point, we'd like to have information on, for job seekers on our site. We don't really have that yet, but the library has a lot of it. So for now, we can send people to the library to get information for job seekers. And then a fourth potential audience is for businesses that are considering Southwick as a location. And I'd like to develop that further. So we will reformulate that goal for next year. Then we have our lunch, Southwick in Bloom, and we did that. We succeeded in launching, and the news is I've been checking, we had a glitch in getting the applications come through, but I've got that fixed. And just in the last 24 hours, I got
How many did you get?
seven
8?
more, seven or
Seven,
eight
eight.
more. We're up to a total of 12 now, but I'm sure there's more that didn't get
Yes,
through
yeah,
initially.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm gonna guess that,
there's about 20 right now.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say 20 is probably what we have, and Julie said you were gonna reach out to the ones that you knew were participating and make sure you had the application information.
Yeah, I got a quick report right here that Diane just put together as I
Okay,
was
great.
walking out the door. So, yeah, that glitch was fixed on the 23rd. And of course, the problem is the ones that had signed up, especially residential, we don't have any way of knowing. So I wish there was a way that we could.
I wish you would have let me know as soon as it was happening, and I
Well,
would have.
I don't think we
fixed it right
knew.
We
away.
didn't know. We didn't know until we were gonna give that report that night. So anyway, we don't know what we've lost. I don't know if there's, I wish there was a way to put on the town crier if you signed up,
Yeah,
you know, or, you know, the sign down there, the
Well-
reader or something.
Meet and discuss ways to reach out to people in the town that may have,
Well, we're running out of time. That's why the gun's
Yeah.
kind of to our head right now
well,
because,
what's the deadline you're working on?
well, I mean, they need to be growing flowers right now. We need to get signs in their lawns if they're doing it.
Right, but if they decided to grow flowers, they probably planted them. So it's just a matter of connecting with them, make sure they're entered officially and got the signs.
I mean, judging takes place on the.
August.
Between the 26th and of July and August 9th. So I mean, we have some time from that standpoint.
Right, from that standpoint, there's about 2 months. 1 month,
A hell of a
1 month and a half.
Yeah,
yeah.
so. I
Yeah,
mean,
well-
I just feel bad for those people because we're having to go back now to the business owners that we knew signed up and don't show up there. And it's too embarrassing to say we need you to sign up again. We're just taking their name and dealing with it, signing them up, so. But the others, we have no way of knowing what we don't know. So if anybody's got an idea on how we can reach back out to them, you know, in a very public way, like I said, that reader board might be a good thing if we could have something concise on that for. a couple
Well,
of days.
write something up and what's his name, Ken Stomsky or something like that, that runs that. Get in touch with him, and there's a form you can fill out where you can write, and he's got little squares, you can write a message and have him put it in rotation.
What do you think, Serena? I mean, I'm at a loss.
I know, I'm kind of at a loss too, because Diane had mentioned maybe contacting the guy from the newspaper, but I don't want like negative publicity or, you know. And I don't know if people would really, if they'd recognize that or see it.
You know,
I don't know. I gotta try to make some calls and go to people. And the hard thing is getting these business owners that do it, you know, you get the help and they're, you know, they don't really know what they're doing.
well, that's why I said it's. they have-
So do you have these signs that are gonna be?
Well, we were waiting, that's the next thing is we were waiting to see how many we needed to get made.
For lawn signs, yeah, for people that are in
Right,
it.
so maybe you could build it around that. If you didn't get your lawn sign, contact us. Publicize.
Suppose we could do that.
You know, that we,
I don't think they knew they were getting one, did they? I'm not sure.
Probably not.
No, I don't think
well,
so.
just come up with another. One way to make a situation so it's not embarrassing, if the person thinks they're the only one that
Didn't get in,
missed it,
yeah,
it's not that embarrassing, you know, everybody else got it. If you missed it, let us know. If somehow you fell through the cracks and didn't get the salon sign or didn't get the notice.
Mhm.
Are you gonna acknowledge you got email addresses of the people? Are you gonna send them back some instructions or information?
Yes.
Are we? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we'll
think so.
respond, we're gonna thank them, notify them about the yard signs, and then encourage them to share their photos, you know, on social media. You know, their efforts, and then notify when judging will take place and that the winner will be announced on Farm Day on the 17th, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
cowards, yeah.
do that.
So we're
I'll
gonna,
send you the additional ones. I've sent the ones I had up to now. I'll send the additional ones by
okay,
very early tomorrow morning.
okay,
So you'll have the list of 12 that we've got signed up so far. And then if you can make sure Summer House or whoever that you know is entering, add them to the list.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah,
say
we-
Tuckers came in and.
Yeah.
And
Did
also
Pam
that
come
other,
in? Did Pam?
didn't see.
Okay, all
Pam's.
right, gotta get hold.
she may have
This-
before, that's one of
Right.
those things.
Living Hope Church
Mhm.
came in with one.
Okay,
Um,
Yeah, so anyway,
And then several other residential ones.
it took hold, it did everything it was supposed to, and we have people that are volunteering for next year, which is good.
Yeah, I think this will, as say, this first year will be, you know, a lot of people don't want to do something new, but then
Right.
they see it happens and people got prizes and they see the displays here and there. Oh, I'm gonna do that next year.
Yeah,
right,
so we'll work out some of
Yeah.
the bugs and all, but our target was around 15 or so, wasn't it?
Yes,
Anyway, and so.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I'd like to, you know, think about our goal for next year. What's the next step in this? Do we expand this? It's the idea of beautification. I think we ended up prioritizing the beautification committee as one of our top ones that we'd like to do in master
Yeah.
plan.
Mhm.
well, what's nice is it does fit in with the 2040, you know, plan as far as farm
Yeah.
community and values and all, so.
Recommendation on take photos of all the stores that are participating, so we have something to say, hey, this is what
Mhm.
this
Right,
is.
right.
Maybe we can promote, hey, this business, and this was the winning business or something.
Yes,
Future
yeah, we're gonna
promotion.
take pictures, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
That-
we could pop that on our website of all here's a tab with
gallery.
all the entries of
Southwick and Bloom for the
of
first
Southwick
year.
and Bloom, and then promote people to go there and look at it.
Yeah.
So there's no way on social media to try to reach out to find out who we've missed and,
Well,
I don't know, I'm not on social media at all.
I'm not a Facebook person, but if that's one thing I want to get into the gold. We have somebody who is good at Facebook
Mhm.
in our group, and I want to push that harder next year. We didn't have, we had our website, we had our online directory and stuff. I can do that, but promoting in Facebook, I'd like to get into that more in the coming year. And if someone can post some things out there to reach some of these people, Southwick and Bloom, if you didn't get your sign or whatever and you entered, contact us. You know,
Contact us,
try to really promote it in social media.
okay.
maybe Julie's.
Julie could do it. Diane, does Diane do Facebook? No. Yeah, I don't either.
If I did, I wouldn't get 90% of the other things that I do.
Well, that's what I, you know, well, I never got into it as I was online when it was full-time work. For email and flooded and keeping up with things. I didn't need one more online
Yeah,
obligation.
so, yeah, well, we may have to eat some crow, but, if we can figure out a
Well-
way to,
People are forgiving if you,
yeah.
and this is not something they paid an entrance fee or
No,
whatever.
right,
You know, if somebody,
I put something out on our reader board down there, if I knew what we could say that would be concise and like you said, not negative, I'd throw something out in a minute, but.
well, think about it and in terms of timing, as long as we get them on the list by judging time, that's what matters. If they think they've entered, if they put in a thing and it didn't come through,
Yeah,
they're growing the flowers and the message I would get, we have signs, if you didn't get your sign
mhm.
for Southwick and Bloom, let us know and we'll provide it. We should get extra.
Right,
Are they, how much do they cost?
I don't know. Julie talked to them
I'd like
about
to
it.
get enough.
Yeah, I don't know how much they were. I think they're reasonable.
Okay. Well, we got a gift account. Let's not skimp on them. If we don't use them this year, we'll use them next year.
Right.
So the
Get 'em.
fellow that handles the thing up there near the bank, what's his name?
Martin?
Do you know him? No, the reader board, the town.
Jim Miller.
Oh,
Well, I thought the guy that did Channel 15 and stuff was managing the reader.
What
Was it?
Middleton was.
He's doing it now.
I think so.
Okay, he's got his office right over
Right.
off the kitchen here, the data center.
So
oh,
online.
really? Do you know him, Alvin? Oh, you do?
Yeah. All right, well, if you have any ideas,
Are you gonna hold together your team here?
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Next couple of days, I would say.
yeah.
Do you get together
Well, we were, and then we
Does it
kind of
vary?
fell off the,
Zoom or you do?
well, we did Zoom once and then we were meeting regularly, but then, I don't know, it just kind of,
Well, let me know and I could join your next team meeting and.
Okay.
Help in any way I
Okay.
can to
all right, I'll mention that to the
give
girls.
ideas, 'cause we'll get through this first one, we'll have lessons for the next.
What
one.
actually happened? I like to always learn from,
Well, when I was setting it up with Julie, I said, I can just have the responses come to me and I'll pass them on. She said, I'd really like them to come to me. So we tried to set it up to go to her Google account. And we tested it and it came through. And so I thought, we're all set. And then I didn't know until our last meeting that there was an issue.
Hmm.
But I switched it to come to my account and it works for me. I don't know why it didn't work for Julie.
Yeah,
Some other account.
All right.
Okay,
I'm gonna take off.
all right, thanks for your
thank
time.
you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy it.
Okay. We're almost done here. So let me know when you're meeting and I'll
Okay,
help in whatever way I can.
thank you.
Then the last one on here was the review of zoning, and I met with Bill a couple weeks ago and we spent most of the time talking about zoning ideas. Bill's wife, Roz, was on the planning board for many years and is a kind of an expert on zoning. She came a couple meetings ago and we had a whole presentation and a give and take about the history of Southwick zoning starting in the 50s and how it's structured and
Oh,
what things we could watch the video
all right.
and you can catch up on that because I know you weren't here. But the idea of getting into zoning is we want to be able to provide recommendations to the planning board, to our town planner, whoever that might be. And
Well, we got it right here.
and I've mentioned some of the broad level of things we want. Our goal is one is to make it easier for MDU, multi-dwelling unit developments
Mhm.
near the town center. Some of those are R40, some of them are already zoned right. To make it easier, whatever avenue to go. Another one is to make sure our zones just outside of the town center are appropriately zoned. I like in town of Greenfield, they have specific transition zones that transition from residential to business and have certain kinds of limitations on what kind of businesses, but there are certain businesses that mix really well with residential and it's really a growing trend to have mixed use
Mhm.
areas, and that would be ideal for a transition out just leading into a town center in in Northampton, they even have zoning they call character-based zoning. They try to get on their lead in so that
Yeah,
transition into the downtown is positive. So we'll talk about, what I would like to do is just have a team that works on a position statement in a broad sense. It won't necessarily be all the technical ways that the process of getting it done, which I know can be long-term and difficult, and you have to contact all the butters and get votes and whatever, but just to make a broad level recommendation with persuasive arguments about why this would be beneficial for everyone.
Quick question, have you been tapped in? I know they're doing a zoning modernization with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission in conjunction with the town. Have you been a part of any of those meetings?
No, have there been actual meetings on it? I listened to, I read the agendas. I haven't seen it on the agenda. The planning board, is that separate from the planning board meetings?
I don't know, I'll have to check with John, I'm not, but I know they're in process, I don't know if they've rolled out to the public, I'm not sure, I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I'd be interested in knowing what kind of recommendations they're getting. I know some of it is just formatting. One reason I like Greenfield is because they're formatted so nicely with the statement at the beginning of each zoning type that explains exactly what the purpose of it is, and it's structured in a much more user-friendly way.
Yes.
So that's just making it more user-friendly is different than actually modifying some of the requirements. And I know that some of them might have to be modified just because of state requirements for the accessory dwelling units. Mark, you saying something? Yes.
I'll refrain.
Okay.
refrain.
Anyway, yeah, I'd like
No,
to.
when you said we're user friendly, we're about to be. 2 dispensaries and a concert venue.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very useful.
No, all joking aside, I think we've got some real gems. I mean, I'm just, kind of personally disappointed that,
Yeah.
what a landmark in town, I just think is underutilized. And we've got a lot of those gems here. And from an outsider perspective, just, kind of looking at the zoning, I think there's just an incredible opportunity to do some smart things. That's all. And I think we've tried to bring some of that with, our business profiles. But, I would just urge that, there are just some great opportunities here that shouldn't be squandered. Rich opportunities for the town.
Right, and we'd like to, when we talk about being persuasive about zoning changes, we want to, to frame it all in look at what our town could be, the improvements, the get people to capture the vision that is in our master plan, and to say this is not just some pipe dream, we could actually work toward it. And I believe in incrementalism, in taking little steps.
Mhm.
Don't wait to, put it off saying, well, we don't want to do that until we complete our big master plan. Well,
Yeah.
take all the little steps you can.
You have a vision and a direction now with the master plan, but I think it's really important, and I'll kind of leave this as my kind of parting thoughts. I think there's an opportunity and there's really a need to develop some, sort of visionary sort of materials for the town that could be used to, promote like the direction that we want this town to take. Again, with some of the gems that we have here, the lake, and other things, the recreational venues, golf courses. I think there's just an incredible opportunity to put together some kind of proactive marketing about the town, directing, the types of, residencies and businesses that we want in town. And I think that should be, a key next step. I know, Greg, you've done some great foundational work in that effort, but I think it's time to really bring it to the next level.
Okay, we appreciate your encouragement. All right, we've talked already about all the new goals, and my main assignment is to think about
Mhm.
give some serious thought, because what I want to do when we pick up in August, and maybe we should have an official vote about, skipping the July.
Oh,
I'll make a motion that we skip our July scheduled meeting and instead go on to August, third Wednesday of the month.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
I think it's unanimous, so. You have 2 months to come up with a set of goals for to launch our new year, and think about which of those teams you want to be on. What are you most passionate about?
Mhm.
I want teams of 2 and 3. That keeps it small enough that you don't have the open meeting rules kicking in, and just the teams then report to the open meeting. And I'll mention one more time, because I'm still open to it. I'm fine with rotating the chairmanship around. If anybody wants to step into the chair, I'll support it in every way that I can.
I move we adjourn.
Yeah, me too. Second that.
yeah.
Okay, well, all right, well, I think we've wrapped up, so.
We wrap
We
all
have,
in.
we got one more before we
Okay.
close up. Races are coming to town.
Oh, yeah.
End of June,
That's
last
right.
weekend in June. I know they've been longer than I've been around. And really a kind of multi-generational kind of thing of people coming to Southwick. So I know it's kind of late in the game to kind of prepare for our presence perhaps at this event. Does anybody have a contact for the racetrack, and maybe we could have a sign for Enjoy Southwick or something there? Has it
I
already
have-
been kind of,
I have the phone number, the guy, what's his name, that runs it. I could reach out to him. I've given it thought, and I just can't, there's no good place to, I've never attended the races, but I've walked around the grounds to kind of picture the crowds and where they would be. It's.
Do we still
you
have our
could
sign
put-
up
We
there?
could put yeah, we still have
Okay,
our signs, but they
restaurant
got
thing.
our restaurant sign there, but it got no
hits?
traffic
That's-
for 2 reasons. We didn't get any click-throughs. 2 reasons: there's food trucks all over the place
Oh,
there,
yeah.
so they don't need to go off, and it's with all their camp, they're set up, they don't really want to go off. And the second reason is the big signs are not where they can walk right up to them. They're kind of in the distance, and
Wow.
it's harder to use
Scan
a
it
QR
in.
code when. And yeah, if you wanna
Is it Crestview Construction that's running that or no?
have they're a sponsor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have a big sign too. And we've got lots of these.
do they-
If anybody,
Yeah. Do they charge for parking? When you come into their grounds, I haven't been to a race event, but we should find out if they charge for parking. If they do, we could have a zillion little of those QR code things made up and just ask them, say, when people pay for their parking, just give them one of these. Because I guarantee you, people would love, even though, yeah, I agree, they're going to camp out, whatever, but they're still going to want to access some. I mean,
Well,
who
I
doesn't
think
want to
that
go to Summer
basically-
House for an ice cream? Who doesn't want to
Right.
go to Mrs. Murphy's for a donut? Come on.
Yeah, right.
well, don't they pay just an entrance fee to get to the event? I think there's an event.
Yeah, I
fee
don't
they
think it's
pay when they
separate
go in.
parking.
I don't think parking
Oh,
is
okay.
separate.
But whenever,
It's
when they
the-
come in, like wherever the gate is, I don't know. I've never been there. So,
Yeah, and I don't know that
Yeah.
you could really post there. When I've talked to other people about it, they said about the only place you could put one of these is right indoors in the Legion there. But I don't know how many people go through that.
No,
I mean,
that's-
There's,
Steve, do you live on Powdermill? Yeah, that's so.
if you have ideas for
Yeah.
how we could
Yeah,
post this,
yeah.
put them on trees, on fence posts.
Yeah, I mean, we could find.
If you wanna-
find somewhere
I can-
people walk
I
around
could
there.
give you the phone number of that guy since you're over near there.
Sure, yeah, if you provide a
I'll
contact,
pass
then
on
we
a
could see if there's
contact
spot.
name
Yeah.
and,
Be nice.
and do you have a bunch of these? I
I have
have more
two
in my
left.
car. I have a box full in
Is
my
it
car.
Saturday, the 28th? Is that when the race
Yeah.
is?
When we walk out, I'll hand you a bunch of them and I'll give you the number for, you can call them and say, is there any way we've got signs for Enjoy Southwick, are there any places we could post it? He's been cooperative with other stuff.
Okay,
And we have the large banner, there are two of the real 4x8 or whatever, big banners, but I don't think they're, even with big banners, with the crowds wandering around, it's hard to get something in front of the right people at the right place, and
Well,
say a lot of them are just there for that event.
Yeah, right.
You know, something to think about for next year, like if we really want to promote the businesses, you know, a card with like a little, you know, discount coupon on it with that QR code and get, you know, participating businesses to say, yeah, you know, honor the discount or whatever, and then, you know, give it away. I mean, it's something that even the people at the WIC might appreciate as like a kind of a kind of a freebie.
Yeah, well, let's put that as a goal for ideas.
Right.
It's maybe something we discussed with the businesses, the business association idea, there can be
Mhm.
things to pass out, coupons, whatever. There are things we could help be. We don't want to do the advertising for businesses, but we want to be a venue that they can do cooperative things through. Okay, we had our motion to dismiss,
we
and
did.
second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're
Aye.
dismissed.